Hey guys, it's Lisa, and I'm here today to do a video that I did like literally a year and a half ago. I'm just here to like remake it because I've been going through my channel just like cleaning it up, and I watched the original video for this and I realized like I didn't know as much about it as I should if I'm gonna be posting a video, and I did get like a lot of views and I felt like I wasn't as informed as I should be. So I'm just gonna be remaking the depersonalization and derealization video. Um, this isn't like about relationships or breakups like how the rest of my videos are. This is literally like a video dedicated strictly to like the mental illness and like describing what it is. So, also, I'm so sorry for the way that I look. I am so sick. Like, I just have like a bunch of stomach problems, and I've just been in and out of the hospital like the past couple of days. And I just got back from the hospital actually, so not wearing any makeup, but wasn't in the hospital for DP or DR, so that's not like where I came from. But so depersonalization and derealization, I'm just going to call them DP and DR. They are two illnesses that go hand in hand, and they fall under the dissociative mental disorders. So you have like a bunch of different mental disorders. You have depression, anxiety, whatever, and underneath those like categories you have subcategories, and DP and DR fall under dissociation, which according to WebMD, and I wanted to pull this up so I don't like mess up the definition. It says, let's see, okay. It says dissociative disorders are mental illnesses that involve disruptions or breakdowns of memory, consciousness, awareness, identity, and or perception. Identity, awareness, and perception, and consciousness, like you have to just remember like those are the biggest key factors when it comes to understanding what DP and DR actually are. Like you have to really nail down those words in order to really understand what the illness is, but honestly if you don't have it, you really can't understand like what it is. Like you can get an idea, but unless you've had an experience with it, it's really hard to like understand exactly what the illness does or its effect on you. So I can speak firsthand because I've been dealing with DP and DR ever since I was in the fourth grade, and I am now a sophomore in college. So it's been like 10 years. I think the shortest time I've had to deal with it, it comes in spurts. The shortest time I've had to deal with it is like maybe like 6 hours, and the longest time I've dealt with it is like a day and a half to 2 days. Most people can like get it for a long, long time. Like a day and a half to 2 days is maybe like average or like pretty short, but most people can get it for like months and months at a time, which I can't imagine that at all. But basically, DP and DR are very, very similar. They're basically the same thing, but they're not. So depersonalization is out of touch with your body, and derealization is out of touch with the things surrounding you. And this is a very, very rare mental illness. Like, it's so rare, like, nobody knows about it. I mean, if you do, good for you. That means, like, you're smart. But you really have to, like, know a bit about psychology or about the brain in order to like really understand what DP and DR are. So it really is so hard to explain, and I can't explain. Like I've even tried watching the simulations on YouTube, and even though like I have these disorders, I still can't fully empathize with the simulations. Like I'll watch the simulations, but I won't be like, yeah, exactly. Like it's like I guess, it's like, I guess that happens, but like, it's not like boom, nail on the head. So, I'll do my best to explain it, and, I guess try to be a voice for people who are also dealing with this. If you're looking for a way to describe it to your family or friends, but you can't find the words, hopefully I can put the words together for you. So, I'll just start with depersonalization. So, when DP kicks in, let me just start off by saying, like, it's so hard to determine what triggers it. Normally it's like a traumatic event, or it can be a really, really big buildup of anxiety or like stress. A lot of the times, I mean, it could be genetics, but really there is no pinpointed cause for it. And there's really not a cure for it. There's medications to treat it, but there's not a cure for it. You just kind of deal with it. Mental illnesses are very like, I guess, hit or miss when it comes to like cures and diagnoses. Like there's not really like a way to like test it, it's just based off of your symptoms for the most part. So with DP, like I said, it happens when you can go through a very traumatizing thing. You can have a buildup of anxiety, you can have a buildup of depression, and most of the time, DP and DR are a symptom of it. It's an outcome of it. But some people just have DP and DR without having depression or anxiety. It's such a rare disorder. Nobody really knows how to explain where it comes from. It just kind of happens, and it's very rare. Not a lot of people have it. And I think the people that do have it, most of the time when you go to the doctor and explain these symptoms, it's misdiagnosed as depression because the symptoms are very similar, but they're different. Anyone who knows firsthand knows that depression is not like DP or DR at all. So I'm trying to be really quiet right now because there's people outside. But so when you're going through DP, depersonalization, it's out of touch with your body. You feel like you are not in your body. And I know, when you're drunk or when you're super high, let's say you're tripping or whatever, I don't know. That's what it could feel like. You're like, oh, dude, I'm not in my body. That's what it could feel like. But that's not what DP is. Trust me. When you explain DP to somebody who doesn't have it, they'll be like, oh, I feel that way when I'm drunk. No, it's not it's not that. You don't understand. You literally feel like your body has just walked out of your mind. You are composed of two things: your physical body, your shell, and then your soul, your personality, your being, who you are. And it feels like those two become disconnected. You feel like you're looking at yourself from a third person, not physically. It doesn't feel like you're in someone else's body looking at your body. It just feels like you're hovering over yourself, looking at you doing what you're doing. So I remember one time, I was going through a really bad phase for about a day and a half, and I was in school, and I was in the cafeteria, and I remember I went to Subway, and after I got my food, I was walking around looking for a table, and the cafeteria was so crowded, and I couldn't find a place to sit. I remember it just started flaring up really, really bad. I was already in it for about a day and a half, but at this particular moment, it was really flaring up because, I was getting stressed out because I was already feeling it, and when you're feeling it, you're kind of in a panic. But then it was getting more and more worse, and I just remember I literally saw myself from a third person perspective, and I was just walking aimlessly around the cafeteria looking for a place to sit. And you feel like you're controlling yourself with a remote control, but the batteries are broken. You're trying to steer yourself to sit down in that table right there before someone else gets it, but all of a sudden you can't walk there fast enough and you don't know what to do. Then all of a sudden you see people walking to the table and you don't know if you should dash and grab the seat first, or you don't know if you should walk the other way. You don't know if you should ask if you should sit with them. Literally it's oh my god, what's going on? It's so hard to explain. It just feels like you lost control over yourself. You have a remote and you're controlling yourself and you're focusing really, really hard. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get to class on time this morning. I'm gonna drive this car safe on this street. I'm gonna walk to this table to eat my sub sandwich because I waited all day for it. But then all of a sudden it's oh fuck, the batteries. The batteries aren't working. So that's literally what DP feels like. It feels like when you're going through it and you're talking to people, it feels like you aren't talking. You know that you're saying things, but you don't realize that you're saying what you're saying, if that makes any sense. It feels like you're just spitting out words and they're just comprehending it coincidentally. You're just talking, and it's you take advantage of speaking English or whatever language you speak. You just start talking, but your mind doesn't realize that it's talking. You're just spitting out words like word vomit, and the person just so happens to understand what you're saying. And it just feels like there's a glass wall in between you and whoever you're talking to. If you're going through DP and you're sitting in a room full of people, it feels like you are in a cage. It feels like you can't understand what people are saying or what they're talking about. It's kind of like if you've ever gone to class really tired or really hungover and you have to participate in a group project and you just feel out of it. It's like that times 100. You physically can't engage in conversation. You just can't. Your mind won't let you. Your body is there and it can physically speak, and it can physically acknowledge people. It can physically shake hands with people, but your mind can't make the connections for a intimate conversation. Your mouth can talk to people, but you won't be able to really sympathize with people. You won't be able to really empathize with people. It just feels like you're just spitting out the words that your brain is just computing. It's not with feelings. And I know before I realized it was DP and DR, I would always call it the brain thing. I would always call my mom, I'm having the brain thing again. And she would always say, Elisa, just sit down. Just like sit down, just like try not to like think about anything, try not to like talk to people, just like let it run its course. And for the most part, for me, a good way to not cure it, because it can't be cured, but a good way to alleviate it is to eliminate your senses. So often, a lot of the time, anxieties and dissociation disorders are fueled by sensory overload. If you're seeing a lot, paired with hearing a lot, paired with smelling a lot, tasting a lot, feeling a lot. Like if you're like in a very busy situation, let's imagine you're in a music festival, right? That's really loud. There's a bunch of people, that's a lot to see. You're wearing a lot of clothes, that's a lot to touch. You're eating something, that's a lot to eat. Everyone's frying food around you, that's a lot to smell. Like all your senses are taking a lot. Often that fuels DP, only for the people that have it though. If you don't have it, that's not going to do anything. It's just going to stress you out. But if you have DP or DR, it's going to drive you batshit crazy. So in order to alleviate or eliminate DP in the moment is to cut down on your senses. So I always keep sunglasses on me, whether it's in my purse or in my book bag. And if I'm going through a lapse of it, I'll just put my sunglasses on because it helps eliminate your sight to darken the vision. Or I'll put a hat on because it helps like cover my hearing. The less senses you have exposed, the better. So that's something that I do a lot. I won't eat, I won't drink, because food doesn't taste real. It just tastes like you're putting it in your mouth. You can't really appreciate the taste of anything. So I always put on glasses, I always put on a hat, and I'll put in like headphones, but I won't play anything because you don't want to feed your senses. And often that does help, just until you can get into a quiet place. So that's kind of like a rundown of what DP is. And DR is the same thing except for it's with people, or it's with things. So DP is like loss of sense of self, but DR is loss of sense of objects. So it's literally just like DP except for it's with physical things around you. So like if I'm going through a DR phase, I'll be holding this phone, but I won't really realize that it's a phone, if that makes sense. Like I'll just think it's like a plastic thing in my hand, or glass, whatever it's made out of. And like I'll use it, but I don't really realize how I'm using it. And all of a sudden everything just starts to like, I guess, look distorted in a way, kind of like you're tripping on some drugs, but you're aware that it's not real. See, the difference is, I've never tripped on drugs before, but I'm assuming when you trip on drugs, your mind convinces you that that's actually what's happening. Like, oh my god, the wall is melting, dude, like gnarly. Or like, oh my god, my water is turning purple, this is so cool. Like you're actually convinced that's happening. But during DR, you know that it's not. You know that your phone is like not a plastic prop, but you're so confused as to why it looks like one in the moment. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. And every time you watch a video on a person explaining DP and DR, you're going to hear them say a million times, I don't know how to explain it, because you don't. So like in drugs, you realize that you think that everything's happening, everything's real, but during DR, you know that it's not. But you're going crazy because you're wondering why it feels like everything's fake when you know that it's not. So if I'm going through DR and I'm holding this water bottle, I would, like right now, I'm not going through it, so I'm like, okay, this is a water bottle, this is pretty, it's blue and gray, and it keeps drinks cold for 12 hours and hot for 6, so that's pretty cool. But if I'm going through DR, it's kind of like, what is this? Like, I know it's a water bottle. Like, I know it holds a liquid. I know you drink out of it, but why does it feel like it's just not existent? Like what's up with this shape? Like, why are water bottles even shaped like this? Like, you just really analyze everything and nothing feels real, but you're mad at yourself because you're like, damn it, like, I know this is real. Like, this is a water bottle. Like, I know it's real. I know that as soon as I get out of this phase, I'm going to realize that this is a normal water bottle, and that this is a super cool water bottle, and that I love this water bottle, but right now, I just don't know why I'm thinking it's just so fake. Like, you really analyze everything and it drives you crazy and you can't stop. And that's where the anxiety portion builds in. I don't have anxiety, but anxiety is a contributor to DP and DR. So I don't know how to explain it. It's it really is dangerous, and it is very scary, especially when you're driving. When I'm driving and I have this happening, I can't drive. I have to pull over. I have to go somewhere, or if I have to get home, let's say like I have to beat curfew or whatever, I'll have to turn the radio off. I'll have to like make sure like nobody in the car is talking, or like at least be quiet. I'll have to really focus on the road. Like I've never drunk driven before, but I'm assuming it's kind of like the same feeling where, because when you're driving and you have DP or DR going on, it feels like you're controlling yourself, but all of a sudden the battery in the remote isn't working. So how the heck are you going to turn right at this light? How are you going to stop at the stop sign if the stop button's not working? Like it stresses you out so much when you're going through it, and you just have to keep telling yourself, I'm going to pop out of it, I'm going to pop out of it, but for right now it's just going to feel very, very weird. And when you're going through it, you know that you're going through it. It's like, okay, this is happening again. And the first thing I always say is, I wonder how long this is going to last. Because sometimes it lasts a couple minutes, sometimes it lasts like hours, sometimes it can last days. It really just depends on what's going on. Now, I will say, I haven't had ADP or ADR lapse for about a year. I've been clean for about a year, and it's been awesome. I can't tell you how I've done it. I used to have them literally maybe every single month, but now it's been a year. I think I've just really prioritized my mental health over everything. And ever since I've been prioritizing my mental health, it's been happening less. However, if I do get really, really, really stressed out, which I don't allow myself to anymore, that's when it typically starts to kick in, or when I'm reminiscing on very traumatic events. So I don't let myself do that anymore. Like I've literally done all these mental like training things for myself, where if I'm thinking about this, I immediately turn to this. Or if I'm thinking about what happened at this point in my life, I immediately like I've trained myself to like, don't do this. Like I have forbidden territory, and if I enter this territory, shit's gonna hit the fan. I'm gonna start getting DP and DR. But honestly, like nobody really has a solid confirmation on what it is, or like on like a treatment for it, or a cure, or even a cause. Nobody really knows. Everybody has ideas, but nobody actually has a thing, because it's so uncommon and it's so misdiagnosed. And I mean, most people that do have it, I feel like they don't even know that they have it. They just like, I'm a psychology major, so I'm very interested in like the brain, so of course I know like everything about their, or not everything, but I know mostly everything there is to know about like mental illnesses, because like that's what I'm studying. So that's why I know about this. But you know, also like doctors and stuff like that, like it really takes a long time to really confirm that this is the problem. And there are medications for it, but like I said, they do not cure the problem, they simply treat them. And I don't like the medication, so I don't take it. I just figured out ways to kind of get around it when it's happening. So there are ways to get around it, there are ways to alleviate it. However, if you deal with DP and DR spurts that are like long term, like days and days and days, maybe I would recommend like a medicated route. But for someone who just has it maybe for a few hours or for like a day or two, sometimes there are ways to just like deal with it. I know that really, really sucks, but medication honestly isn't the best thing for you. I'm really against medicine. But I just wanted to explain this illness for people that don't really understand. It's really hard to explain. It is. And it just feels like you're watching yourself from a third person. It feels like everything is from a third person, that you're kind of watching yourself like from a camera, and that you've kind of lost control over you and everything around you. And no matter what you do, you just can't seem to convince yourself that you're like okay, because you're like freaking out in the moment. Like, oh my God, like these were my hands a minute ago, but now they're just like random hands that are connected to my body. Like everything just becomes like, let me Google this word before I use it, because I don't want to use the wrong word. Everything becomes elusive. That was exactly the word I wanted to use. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the subject. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I was able to take this, I guess, illness and really present it in a more better fashion than I did in the other video, because I was a lot more like cutthroat about it. I was a lot more, okay, this is what it is, and if you don't feel this, then you don't have it. Like I was very like bitchy about it. So hopefully this is a lot more like lax and chill, and that I can really shed some light on it and hopefully bring some awareness to it. So thank you so much for watching, and take care.